Who knows?
Sure. All right, so I'm headed to your page. Yeah, it looks like we're live.
Oh yeah, you see me?
Yeah, I see you. Do you see me? Do you see me? Can you see me now?
Awesome. All
I
right,
just
so
copy link.
good afternoon or evening, everybody, depending on where you are. So give us one quick second. We had to improvise, and we're going to drop our links everywhere. Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast. Oh, I even forgot our name. The Agent Lead
The
Source
leads.
Podcast. We've been trying to do this for a while, so let's get going.
Let's rock it. Out. It's late on your side of the world, Jaime.
It's getting there. So I'll put it in the where am I going? In the messenger group, Joseph?
Yep. I'll put a new agents group.
Okay. All righty. I'll put it in the other group as well. All right, so as you're hopping on, let us know where you're hearing from today. So if you're in the United States, if you're somewhere else, I know that we had somebody comment from UK, the other podcast, Australia, and I had some folks from India as well. So we are reaching the masses, Joseph. That's what's happening.
Global.
Going global, prestige worldwide.
Awesome. All right, so I'm just making the last couple of places where we're going to be going live in the groups. And then we will, if you want to go ahead, Jaime, and tell everybody what we are discussing today.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So welcome everybody to the Agent Lead Source Podcast. Today we're going to cover how to get more leads the fast way. So that's a very requested topic. We are very excited to bring it to you. This is episode 13. Nobody thought that we could make it to the baker's dozen, but here we are, episode 13. And if I'm going to be honest, Joseph, I think this is technically episode 15. It wasn't until the third episode that I actually started counting. So yeah, we've been making it.
You gave people bonus episodes is what you're saying.
Giving people bonus episodes. So if you want to join our mastermind, $50,000 a month, you can get those other two mastermind podcasts. So
how much per month?
50,000. I mean, it's a discount. It was $1 million, Joseph.
Oh, okay.
That's what I learned from the ClickFunnels Mafia.
That's a very generous discount.
It is very generous. It is very generous. Hey everybody! So Thomas over here from Thomas Casaroti. Sorry if I messed up your last name. He's over on YouTube. Welcome. Right. We have Home Life Advantage Realty. Hello from British Columbia, Canada. There we go. That's over on YouTube. And then Home Life Advantage. Actually, sorry, that was the same one. So there's several folks over on YouTube. And are you going to be on Facebook, Joseph, or is that going to be me?
Yeah, I've got Facebook here. We got Dusty Martin from Scottsdale, which I'm guessing is Scottsdale, Arizona.
Yes.
And then as far as other comments, we'll have to wait for those to come in because we're posted in like 3 different places. So
great. All right, well, let's get started. So we are talking about how to get more leads the fast way. So again, we're welcoming everybody to the Agent Lead Source Podcast. And we're going to start off with the introduction. My name is Jaime Resendez, one of the co-hosts here. I'm recording out of Texas, and we have Joseph Gonzalez all across the world over in Singapore. Joseph, how's it going?
Going well. Got my 3.5 miles in this morning. Got to see the beautiful skyline of Singapore as well as look over the sea. So not complaining about my day. And obviously I get to talk with you today. So, and we're talking one of my favorite subjects, which I'll let you jump into and discuss, but excited to be here again and talk about what we like talking about.
Yes, let's hit it. And we do have to, by law, by contract, we do have to mention our producer, Pat, who made us an entire hour late. So you can guarantee that he's not going to be back for the next episode. So Pat, you're formally fired. And thank you for making us look terrible. All
Thanks,
right.
Pat.
So thank you, Pat. Yeah, chances are he's going to be back next week. Anyway, so we're talking about getting more leads, generating more real estate leads for your business. Who doesn't want more leads? I haven't met that agent yet. So that's what we're going to cover today. And really to spice things up, we left it pretty open. We left it pretty vague, as some Northerners would say, where they stress out that A. And that was by intention. We wanted to be intentional with it because we could easily take it into the obvious strategies of door knocking, cold calling, run Facebook ads. Those are very obvious. And that's something that you hear about everywhere else. Regardless of the podcast that you listen to, you're going to hear those strategies. But here at the Agent Lead Source podcast, we want to bring to you something new. We don't want to focus on those. Joseph will probably touch on those for a couple of seconds here and there just to give those, I guess, a little bit of a shout out, but really that's not where we're going to focus because it's being talked about everywhere else. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, we'll go ahead and give everybody a break. We'll focus on what we wanted to focus on today. And if people do have questions about particular things that we may not cover today, they can certainly reach out, right? Also, they can jump on a one-on-one call if they want to have any conversations about specific things. Again, we're not going to sell you any products. We're not going to do anything like that. But if there's something you want to discuss and dive into or mastermind with us, because we're kind of nerds, at least I'm a self-proclaimed nerd, then we can discuss those things. I don't know if that answers the question that you wanted to answer.
No, it does. It does. We're going to do a quick rundown again. So we were talking about, I mentioned the obvious ones were door knocking, cold calling, and running Facebook ads. So I'll just run through those and you color in between the lines if there's something that I missed. Again, we want to talk about optimization. We want to leverage our time. We want to grow our business and get more leads. So right off the bat, when we bring up the word door knocking, or when we bring up the strategy about door knocking, there's a smart way of door knocking. You can very easily go into every single door and door knock. A lot of agents do that. A lot of agents have success with that, but that means that they're knocking on a ton of doors that just have no business talking to you, or you have no business talking to in regards to if you're trying to get a client that's a little bit closer to the real estate decision. So what I'm getting at is there are multiple companies out there, and until we get a sponsorship check from them, we're actually not going to shout them out on this podcast, but there are multiple companies out there that will gladly sell you information of the owners of those properties. So you get information not only of who they are, but also information as to if they've already paid off the entire house, if they have a loan on that house, how long they've owned that house. So you could do all of that homework by yourself, going to the CAD and trying to figure that out on your own. That's just going to take a lot of time. But at that point, you're better off just knocking on every door, like I just said, is not the most effective use of your time. So again, there are some companies out there that you can leverage that'll gladly sell you this information so you can door knock strategically and speak to the people that are a little bit closer to even entertaining the idea of a real estate transaction. Does that make sense, Joseph?
Yeah, I think there's some software out there that like you're talking about, are companies that will produce that information for you so you don't have to go look for it. Along the lines of door knocking, I've never been a fan of door knocking, but there's some people that crush it, right? I mean, there's some people that we know that have a real estate YouTube channel that started their careers that way and became very popular from it. They live in California. I think we both know who we're talking about. I'm not going to mention them here. But what I would say about that is there are strategic plans for yourself if you're willing to go into the data and look at either what NAR says about how long people typically sell their home, then go into the tax records. So if you're quote unquote farming a neighborhood, then you can go into that neighborhood, pull all the addresses, or if you have an assistant, have your assistant pull all the addresses, look how long somebody has lived in a home. And at that point, you can either door knock or call, right? And which we'll get to cold calling. I think that's our next part of our segment here. But that way you have data that supports the idea of, hey, this person's thinking about selling. Again, as Jaime was saying, there are companies that are out there that are doing that. So if you're a new agent, you don't have the funds to pay for that. This is the strategy that I would go for and say, hey, I don't have the money, but I have a heck of a lot of time. And by the way, this is my job. I'm going to go ahead and track down this information and then go door knock on these specific houses, right? And you can even ask the question if you door knock, hey, I'm a real estate agent and so for so-and-so company, just passing out flyers. By the way, how long have you lived in this home? And then you can reconfirm the information that you actually wanted to get without being super intrusive, but that's a really simple question to ask, right? And then now you've got a database of people and you can ask them further questions, right?
Yes. No, that is absolutely door knocking at its finest. Again, we're going to cover these very loosely, I shouldn't say loosely, just briefly, and really look at the way to scale it or be a little bit more, conserve your time a little bit better. So that's kind of what we're going to be a little bit more effective with it. Now, second thing, go ahead.
Before we go further into door knocking in 2020, obviously make sure that you follow your laws, follow your rules when it comes to wearing a mask or being able to door knock at all. So we don't get in trouble for saying go door knock on people's doors. So just keep that in mind as well. You want to keep everybody safe during this period of time with everything that's going on.
This is true. Thank you, Joseph, because I don't need another lawsuit on my plate. So our in-house counsel is plenty busy. There's plenty busy. There's been a lot of defamation we've been taking part of in our previous podcast. So we're good. We're trying to stay out of trouble.
Very good.
So when it comes to the second strategy that we're going to briefly cover, let's go into cold calling. Now, cold calling, it can manifest itself in many different avenues. You can cold call for sale by owners. You can cold call expired. So those listings that were unsuccessfully sold or lack thereof did not sell in through the MLS. So you have access to that information. So the best way to do that, if you're going to do that at scale and implement it into your business to get more leads, is to use an auto dialer or a multi-line dialer that will import the data into your system, into your dialer, and then it goes out and makes all of those calls. Again, until they sponsor this podcast, we're not going to mention any names. We'll gladly, if you slide into our DMs, we'll gladly let you know of those companies that do that, but we're not doing this for free. Just kidding. We are doing this for free, but not that free. Anyway, so when it comes to cold calling, that's the way that you leverage your time, where you don't have to spend some time looking at the monitor, trying to memorize 3 digits, typing those in, memorize 3 more, and then the final 4. So that is a great way for you to make hundreds of calls if that is your prerogative. That's a great way for you to leverage your time with cold calling.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. Anybody who's watching this right now or watches it later, the first thing they're going to say if they've not done cold calls is, I don't want anybody cold calling me, right? Well, the idea behind cold calling is you're a salesperson at the end of the day, right? And if you don't enjoy sales calling or doing calls to make sales, then you need to hire somebody to do that for you, right? Also, whenever you're thinking about calling people, you have to think about the idea that you're in it to help people, right? You don't want to be in it to just do sales, right? Even though you are a salesperson, you want to make sure that your whole idea behind the process is, hey, I'm calling you to find out, not necessarily if you're going to sell your house or when you're going to sell your house, but hey, what can I do to help you as a homeowner? Do you need to help finding people to spruce up your home? Do you plan on staying in the house for the next 20 years? Do you need to have a list of people who can come in and help you do things to fix things in your yard? Maintain the home, anyway, anything that you can help them with. And then from there, as you build that relationship, the sales will start happening, right? There's some of the coaches out there, actually very few of them actually teach that. There's one that really teaches it really well. But at the end of the day, as you know, Jaime, my motto is help others. The more people you help, the more money you make. So if you are apprehensive about calling, find a reason to call people to help them. And if you can do that, then the business will come to you, especially if you get known in the neighborhood, right? A specific neighborhood.
Yes. No, absolutely. And then just touching, we have a few comments here on YouTube, actually quite a few on YouTube. So we're going to address those questions here after we get through the third item. And the third item that we have here, again, we're stating I guess I should say the obvious because I just said it, but it was stating the ones that you're going to hear and you've heard in many other podcasts and many other videos. And us ourselves, we have covered this in previous conversations because they do work. We're not saying that at all. What we're trying to present to you is different avenues of obtaining the same result, if not better, that preserves your time a little bit more, that preserves your cash a little bit more. So again, door knocking has been around for a long time, and it will continue to be around for a long time. Cold calling, same thing. And then the third item that we want to briefly cover is running Facebook ads. Now, we've had an entire podcast on running Facebook ads, so we're not going to cover that at length. The only thing that I want to share with you there is that new construction, our favorite type of sale, Joseph, is a great marketing campaign, is a great ad that you can launch. If you're interested in the ad copy, I'll gladly provide that to you. Just slide into the DMs. We'll make that available to you for absolutely free. We're not charging you a penny, that are converting actual leads into clients. So running Facebook ads, new construction, is a fantastic place to start. And going beyond that, we mentioned this in the previous episode, in the previous podcast, Joseph, that Facebook ads now has the ability to do call only ads, meaning that you can put your phone number in the campaign itself. And instead of the people that see your ads clicking and going to a website or a landing page, they get on the phone with you. They are actually dialing your phone number. So you have inbound calls. So that's what I wanted to share on the running Facebook ads.
Yeah. When it comes to Facebook ads, it's hit or miss depending on what type of ad you have, right? I mean, I think you and I have talked about this and at length, I'm sure. It's all about testing things, right? You and I both love new construction, but new construction may not work in some markets because some people don't have it. But that doesn't mean reduced price homes. That doesn't mean single story homes ads specifically. Reduced price, single story, swimming pool, 2-story, multifamily. Like, these are all different types of ads that you can run and test in your market. If you're willing to test those ads, let's say you spend $10 over the course of 5 days, typically you'll find out if an ad is going to be producing leads or not, right? And then from there, then you can start testing and saying, okay, this ad will get me 10 leads in 10 days. That's a lead per day. That's 30 leads per day, or 2 per day, or whatever have you. And then you can actually, as most businesses teach, or business classes teach, then you can forecast out what your numbers will look like, which you should be doing. But that's where you start really understanding how Facebook ads work, is by testing. And there's really no other way to do it. No matter what expert you learn from, you won't know until you test yourself anyway, right?
100%. And in your program, Joseph, actually, I remember you making that very, very clear that, hey, we're going to try this out in your market. It's not a one size fits all. Now, right. It's a one size fits most. That's a system. But if this is not going to be the right fit for you in the market, we're certainly not going to cram a product that's going to be less effective than what we want. At the end of the day, when it comes to the campaigns that you launch specifically for your program, they work, but they don't work to your standards. And anybody else would repackage that and collect $5,000 a month and call it a business. So that's awesome.
To your point, Jaime, right? Not everything works in every market. I'll give you an example. We had a client, she came in 7 days ago. We do a 7-day test with our paid ads program to make sure we can at least generate leads, right? From there, then we start doing more qualification of leads. We were not able to generate leads with a specific ad that we ran. So I sent her a refund, right? And that's the idea behind our business model compared to other people's business model is, other people are going to charge you $1,500 a month. What you get is what you get, right? You get one lead, you get one lead, right? That is going to cost you $1,500. For us, as we look at this, and we're talking about testing Facebook ads to generate leads, right? And it's not coming through me. I'm just saying, as a business owner, as I look at it, it's not fair for me to go charge you $1,500, generate 5 leads, and be like, yo, I told you I could generate leads. I didn't tell you how many, or I didn't say this was the number, or whatever have you, which a lot of companies do, which I would run away from. For us, as we look at it, we say, hey, each market's going to be different. If the agent says, hey, okay, we tried that, zero down ad, or we tried that new construction, or this homes list, or whatever we tried, it didn't work. Can we try these other ones? Then we'll continue trying, right? But at some point, we have to say, look, we tried these different ads. It didn't work. let's send your money back, because hey, that's the whole purpose of hiring us, is to generate leads. If we can do that, then that's how we get paid, right? So the same thing for any general real estate agent who's watching now. The idea is you test for 5 days or 7 days. If it doesn't work, try a different ad. Keep trying until you find something that hits. And when you find that golden goose, that's when you start spending money, because the more money you spend, the more return you can possibly get.
Yes. I don't appreciate you knocking my entire business model of overcharging and under delivering, but we're gonna have that conversation again after.
I know better than that. You definitely over deliver compared to other companies. Trust me.
All right, so let's get to Thomas's questions. He's over here on YouTube, so you're probably listening to us in the future if you're in the podcast. But if you want to check us out live, because we're awesome and we engage with our audience and community, we're going to be on Facebook, everywhere. Just friend us, DM us, get added to the notification squad, and also on YouTube. So check us out. All right, so Thomas, actually speaking about numbers, Joseph, you're talking about projections. Thomas, I made $35,000 from 12 hours of door knocking and $157,000 from 2,600 contacts of cold calls. So that's a man that knows his numbers, Joseph, and that's a man that's working incredibly hard. So it's awesome that you know those numbers, Thomas. So that wasn't the question, because there wasn't a question there, Joseph. How much damage can you do with a small budget of $500 for whatever? What a challenging question, Joseph. So let me repeat that. Okay. How much damage can you do with a small budget of $500 for whatever? That's a great question.
So what are his numbers based on his $500 of spend, or did he give that number, or did he just talking in general numbers?
It was a general number. I think he was sharing his production, because he's got several questions here. That one was just a comment that was made later on.
Yeah, I mean, I think in today's market, with ad spend being down for corporate, meaning the corporate's not spending as much money, which means the little guys, us, everyday small business owners, you should be able to generate between 2 and 3 leads a day, right? I would say that's a good average number to hit. Before COVID, it was probably 1 lead, right, a day, roughly. As far as cost is concerned, so let's do the math, right? 2 times 500, that's 1,000 leads in 30 days, roughly, or per, yeah. And then otherwise, you're talking about 1,500, 3 times 5, right? Or 3 times 500. So if you do 2 leads per day, 1,000. If you do 3 leads per day, it's 1,500. That's just ad spend, right? Now, if you're talking about that doesn't include management, right? That's like base setup. Somebody goes in, sets up your ads, and then you have $500 ad spend. But then you're not talking about follow up. You're not talking about putting appointments on your calendar. These are all things that are also tied to lead generation. So then you have to ask yourself as an agent, if I'm going to spend $500 in ads, am I willing to do the back end work, right? So I don't know if that really answers his question, but obviously there's a lot more tied to that entire system than just lead generation. But if you're going to talk just lead generation, you should be able to do 1,000 to 1,500 leads, I think. I mean, I don't know if that's along the same lines that you would look at those numbers.
No, I think that you're not far off. Actually, I don't think that you're off at all. So I had this, I'm going to answer this kind of because I had this conversation with one of the agents that I'm working with, that I sponsored just yesterday. The budget just isn't there, and it's not right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just not there. Even if the budget was there, the money was there, that's the goal, is not to make Zuckerberg richer. The goal at the end of the day, even it's going to sound weird for somebody like us to say this, but the goal is for you to generate leads for free. The whole Facebook ads, and it's very odd for somebody to say that, especially marketers. That's not the goal for you to spend everything else. So what we're doing is combining that limited budget with doing a little bit of ads, but also doing a lot of free strategies. One of the free strategies is one that you pioneered, which is through Facebook Marketplace. Right. So leveraging either their own listings, which right now there's not listings there, but leveraging the brokerage's listings and generating leads that way. You can generate lease leads, which is really where we're targeting right now specifically, because we're looking to turn around some fast cash to allocate to something else that she's got going on, but also going towards the buyer leads and generating those in multitude. So integrating the Facebook marketplace strategy, just a little bit of a summary on that. You're leveraging either your listing or listing from your broker. You're posting it on Facebook marketplace, making it available to everybody in that incredible platform where people go to actively buy bikes, buy homes, believe it or not, buy resale furniture, whatever the case may be. It's the Craigslist, but on Facebook. And you can post a ton of different homes on there. Either they're your brokers or, going back to our favorite types of sales, Joseph, new builds, post those on there and just have conversations, which is basically what a lead is. Have conversations with a ton of people that respond with interest in the property. So I would kind of bridge those together. As in regards to that budget that we had to work with.
Yeah, essentially what you're doing for him is you're extending his budget, right? Mm-hmm. And tell me who doesn't want to extend their budget, right? Meaning you're stretching your dollar to go further. So for as we were talking about, for every day that you're spending $5 or $10 per day, that you're typically seeing, again, 2 to 3 leads per day. Well, now if you're doing the free stuff, you're technically going to be able to do 5 to 10 leads per day. Now you're cutting your dollar into smaller segments and your dollar's getting larger, right? You're getting more for your dollar, because if you look at anything, let's say I love hamburgers, right? So I love bacon cheeseburgers specifically. If you're telling me, hey, Joseph, I can give you 1 cheeseburger for $5, or I can give you 5 of identical cheeseburgers, right? For $5. I'm going to take the 5 for $5, not the 1 for $5, right? So, I'm just equating things to food, because most people like food. Sorry if you're vegan and you're watching this, but you can have a veggie burger, but and no bacon. But if you look at this process of stretching the dollar, again, what's the gentleman's name that asked the question?
It was Thomas.
Thomas, if you're willing to do the work, right? On the front end, and say that $500, you can turn that $500 into $1,000 at the end of the day. That's how I would look at it, right? Okay, cool. $500 goes to ads. Another $500 of my time goes to generating free leads. And then that's what Jaime was saying. And now you technically spent $1,000, 500 of which was fake money, right? Let's call it monopoly money, if you will.
That is perfect. All right. So I was just putting down some notes here because I'm cheating on the next question, Joseph, and then we're going to go into the other segment. Now, this was a great question that was asked about YouTube. So we're big fans of YouTube. We were actually just talking about that prior to recording and the things that we got going on there. So that'll be awesome. Can you give us an idea of 5 videos from first to fifth? So very specific.
All right.
From first to fifth of your top 5 videos to make on YouTube. So man, I'll run that back. Can you give us an idea of 5 videos to make on YouTube is basically the question. Now, sure. I'm going to cheat because I was actually thinking of that as you were giving a great answer. I'm not going to go into rank them into 1 to 5 because that's too much brain power, but I will give you the 5.
On the fly?
What's that?
Is it on the fly?
On the fly / with 10 seconds of leeway of thinking ahead of it. So perfect. A video that I would make is how to buy a house in Frisco. And Frisco is the city. So insert your city there. So I'm just going to use Frisco, which is a town right outside of Fort Worth, Dallas. So if it's Dallas, it's Dallas for you. If it's St. Louis for you, it's St. Louis for you. Whatever city, insert that there. Yeah. The reason I'm inserting a city there is because how to buy a house has been made a million times. Yeah. How to buy a house. But how to buy a house in Frisco has not been made a million times. So I'm being more specific. I'm making this a little bit more specific to people that are actually going to buy a house in Frisco.
Right.
So if I'm not going to make the video on how to buy a house in Mexico because I don't work there. And it's just not going to work for me. Yeah. So I'm not working there yet. Now, how to sell a house in Frisco would be my second video. Mm-hmm. Moving to Frisco would be my third video. And then cost of living in Frisco would be my fourth video. And then top neighborhoods in Frisco would be my fifth.
Very good. Those are good. Those are good topics.
Those would be the absolute videos that I would make. And keeping in mind the first two that I gave you, how to buy a house in Frisco, how to sell a house in Frisco, those are what's called a workflow video. We talked about that in our YouTube for Realtors podcast. So I invite you to check that out, where we went extensively into YouTube. Those are two workflow videos that you can include in your emails. You can include in your texts. You can include that in your DMs with people. So it's a way to multiply your time. As we're migrating into the next section, that's what we're talking about. So what would you take out? What would you add? What do you think of those topics?
No, I think those topics are fantastic. I would even diversify it a bit more, maybe, or make it a little more granular and saying how to buy a house for less in Frisco. Right? How to sell your house for more in Frisco, right? Or intercity, right? And the reason being because you have to think of, and my mind works on client attraction, right? Law of attraction. So you have to think of people in terms of what they want. They don't just want to buy a house. They might want to buy it for less, right? How to buy the best house for less in Frisco, right? How to sell your house for top dollar in Frisco, right? So those are just like small keywords that I think people would want to, it would make them want to watch the video. I don't want to say clickbait because that's not true, because if you do have strategies as a real estate agent to help people buy for less, and you do have strategies to help people sell for more, right? Another one that I would do, you mentioned schools, you mentioned best neighborhoods. I would do schools, right? Because there are a lot of first-time parents. There are a lot of parents who are moving their kids to junior highs. There are parents who are moving kids to high school. You could even do top junior high schools to move, top neighborhoods with the best junior high schools, top neighborhoods with the best high schools or best sports teams, right? I was giggling about something. I can't
Dude, I'm sorry. I totally blew the podcast. Can I interject and really completely discredit myself 100%?
Sure, go ahead.
Sure, you've been doing that for the past 20 minutes. So what's another? So there's a good friend, a friend out in college. I still consider him a good friend. Michael commented on my Facebook, says, "Jaime, you and I sucked once upon a time at door knocking." So what he's talking about is he and we signed up to sell books, out of all things, like encyclopedias, door to door in Nashville. And I had the town of Lynchburg, Tennessee. So Lynchburg is where they actually make that, what is it, whiskey or something like that? So I went home in a month. I sucked at door-to-door knocking. So that's why you can see that I'm not a big fan of it. And I made my money in social media. So there's a happy ending at the end of the day, Joseph, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I did door-to-door. So here's the thing, though. As you talk about that, you learn what you're good at, right? Some people may learn that they're fantastic at door knocking. Some people may learn.
I went home in a month. I
terrible, right? So I mean, even I did phone sales door to door. I did a couple other things door to door, and I absolutely did not enjoy it.
Yeah.
No. There are some things that I think played into that. I'm not going to mention those here on the podcast because I love all people, and hopefully all people love me, which is not true. The second part. But anyway, yeah. I don't think it's discrediting yourself, Jaime. It's just saying we're talking about strategies that do work for other people. In some cases, the things that we're talking about actually work really well for us, right?
Bam. Way to save it. So let's migrate into things that are working, right? There's, for us, and that have been incredibly successful and that you can leverage in really multiply your time. So we're migrating over to social media. In case you hadn't guessed that, already, and we kind of tilted our hand. So social media is the ultimate multiplier. Now we're going to make some comparisons between door knocking and cold calling here and there. I don't want to offend anybody. Again, those strategies do work, but there's another way of growing an audience. There's another way of growing clients. There's just another way to do business, and that's social media. So you can either jump on the train, or you can just get run over by it. It's really your choice. At this point, I wish I wish it was different. Actually, I don't wish it was different, because it's been incredibly rewarding for me. So no, let's continue down the social media route. And just some quick reminders for everybody, because I run into this a lot as well. Personally, when we're talking about working your social media, the first thing you want to do is create an account and complete your profile account. If you do that, you're ahead of
most people.
Just say 50, 60% of other real estate agents. Just go over to LinkedIn and see how many people misspelled realtor. Seriously, go over and type in relator, and so RELATOR, and see how many profiles come up. I challenge you right now. I'll actually go there right now as I open the floor to you, Joseph.
Well, as you talk about that, not only that, just having a picture, right? How many of them just are like, oh, I can't find a picture. I don't have a picture on my desktop, or I just don't have a good picture of myself, or the picture from 1980, I can't find it anymore. That makes me look as good as I possibly can, that most realtors still have. That was before I was born. But anyway, yeah, I think updating your profile and actually creating a profile and then updating your profile are highly, highly important. Hyman, do you have numbers for us?
47,000 results for people that typed in relator, RELATOR. So of course I'm not going to say last names, but Haley, redo it. Jad, redo it. Makara, redo it. Obina, redo it. Maria, Connie, Amanda,
the other 46,900 people that 990 people that haven't done it right, go back and redo it.
Yes. It sounds simple, because it absolutely is. And you may be thinking, oh, that's just a cop-out answer. Well, of course you're going to create a profile and you're going to complete it. It's not that obvious for these folks.
You know, I might have my VAs go out and send 47,000 messages to everybody and say, hey, we just want to help you create your profile properly. By the way, you misspelled realtor. If you would like us to help you do that, please send us a message.
And we'll just charge you $500.
Exactly. Jeez.
So when we're talking about working your social media, we're starting from the very beginning, as you can tell, and then we just build on it. I know we're kind of making fun of them because they deserve it, but at the end of the day, we run into this as well. We have been victims ourselves, because we put ourselves in that situation. So we're not immune to it. It's just something that I wanted to bring to light. But as you're working your social media, friend everybody that you know. You just saw that real time. I had not spoken to Michael, who we sold books door to door 12 years ago, however long ago that was. No, it was way longer. Yeah, no, it was 12 years ago. So just friend everybody that you know, because you never know when a relationship will come back into your life, and you can leverage it for good, for bad, whatever, however you want to do it. But at the end of the day, the social media network is real. The social media power is absolutely real. So the second suggestion, I know it's simple, but the things that work typically are simple. Friend everybody that you know. You have 5,000 friends, or 5,000 limit when it comes to your Facebook profile. You're not going to get to the 5,000 that easy. People think that, oh, I only have 5,000 friends. A possibility, but it takes quite a while to get there. And then you can just cycle the ones that you don't have any meaningful conversations with.
Well, as you talk about friending, I'll give you an example. I don't sell real estate back in the U.S., right? Not any longer. With that being said, I've been in Singapore for 2 years. Last week, our across the hallway neighbor, right? We live in a tall condo, came over and asked who our realtor was, because they thought that seemed like they did a good job. That's a referral for me, right? So you talk about friending people and using social media, but also just think about your everyday life and doing real estate, right? Like as you talk about real estate and you enjoy real estate, it's going to happen. Now, when it comes to social media, always make sure you take it a step further, not just friending people, but sending them a message after they accept your friend request. Because what will happen is you'll send a friend request, and then your notifications the next day or later that day, because you're on there. We all spend about 4 to 6 hours a day on social media, even though you don't know that. Then later on, you'll have the notification says so-and-so accept your friend request. Send them a message. Hey, thanks for connecting. Hope you're doing well. By the way, what do you do for work? And that opens up the conversation for you to say, oh, that's fantastic. I sell real estate. Or they're going to ask you, what do you do for work? Right. And so anyway, make sure you're taking it a step further each time you're doing these social media actions that we're asking you to take to improve your business.
Yes. So that's something that we often overlook when it comes to the follow-up. The follow-up is just so simple. Again, just going out that extra effort where, you connected and you just thank them or you acknowledge them. That's just that next step when it comes to social media. Again, this category right here, we titled it working your social media. That's exactly how you do it. First, you get on social media, you complete your profile, you friend, and then you engage with your friends when it comes to social media. I mean, what a novel idea. You're liking, you're commenting, you're sharing. Now, here's where I'll kind of pause and give the disclaimer, because this could very easily dovetail into a waste of time. I'll just be candid with you. This could easily be one of those efforts where you think that you're working, but you're really not. What you're doing is just being, just
jacking around.
Just jacking around. So what you want to do is be intentional. Be intentional with your business. If this is your prospecting hour, like, comment, share with intentionality.
Yeah.
Now, of course, social media is pretty addictive. That's how it was designed. But at the end of the day, you do want to have at least some level of discipline to where I'm here to prospect in some meaningful capacity. So I'm not going to spend this 1 hour that I've dedicated to this to just messaging my friends, to just messaging my messenger thread. So I'm going to I'm going to comment, I'm going to share, I'm going to have meaningful connections with some people that I want to build that relationship with. And you don't know where that's going to go. Yes, some of it will go into helping buyers buy, helping sellers sell. That's going to be fantastic. And there's going to be some that ultimately don't go and will probably never use you. They'll never go into a transaction. But at the end of the day, that's the risk that you run with any other type of prospecting. You've nurtured a prospect or nurtured a lead for days, weeks, months, years, and then all of a sudden you see them closing with another realtor. That's just part of it.
Don't get mad.
Don't get mad, bro.
They didn't like you. So that's, as we talk about that, Jaime, I'm glad you kind of brought that up because, I joke about it all the time. People are like, man, I talked to this person for months and then they went with somebody else. Like, don't take it personal, right? Like, business is business. If they were married to you and they bought a house with somebody else, that would be very personal, right? If it's your sister or your uncle and they bought a house with somebody else, hey, sometimes mixing family and business is not a good idea. And the fact that they went with somebody else maybe saved you from having that really crappy Thanksgiving conversation of, you doing a terrible job, even though I know you think you're fantastic. We all do. So they went and bought a house with somebody else and you didn't get the $7,000 or $10,000. So be it. But you can, if you want to have the conversation with them, have the conversation with them, but don't take it personal and hold a grudge because they didn't buy a house with you. All right. That's going to happen. That's happened to me. It's going to happen probably in the future, but you know what? As long as you're doing all these lead generation tactics that we're talking about, you're not gonna have to worry about it because you're going to have business coming in hand over fist, as long as you're putting in the effort. And those deals that fall apart, I had a $800,000 deal fall apart once because the person just didn't contact me anymore. And guess what? That next month I did 3 deals in a row, like bang, bang, bang. That's part of business, right? So just keep moving forward, have a lot of deals in the pipeline by doing these things we're talking about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about some magnifiers, Joseph. Let's talk about attracting business. You mentioned it earlier. And what I wanted to cover there was the social media post. You actually, I consider you the fourth most expert. That's probably not the right way of saying it, but I consider you the actual leading authority when it comes to the social media posts, because you are able to generate traction with them. You are able to generate able to make attractive posts that get people to comment, that get people to engage, that get people to connect, most importantly. So one of the ones that I saw you do, I forgot when it was, but it was about DM me your rent or post your rent down below, and
Yeah.
I'll send you a list of homes that you can afford right now. Now I'm paraphrasing it. Yours comes across a lot cleaner than that, but that's something that is designed. That post right there, if you make a much better post than what I just quoted right there, if you make a post that you drop that in your timeline, you drop that in other real estate groups or groups that you control, ideally, you're going to have people flocking to you. Right. And you, at that point, it kind of goes back into the follow-up strategy that Joseph was mentioning. You engage with them and acknowledge their comment. And at this point, there is an action item behind that by you posting, hey, either drop your rent down below and I'll send you a list of homes that you can afford right now. Or if you don't want to be that upfront with it, you can say DM me your rent and I'll send you a list of homes that you can afford right now. Did I miss it?
No, I think you hit it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is we're trying to convert people that are renters to homeowners, right? To first-time home buyers. Now, what you have to consider in this strategy is not everybody's going to be gold or platinum, right? You're going to have some people that are silver, some people that are bronze. You're going to have to shine them up, right? And get them to the point of buying a house. With that DM, we've been using that since like 2016, early 2017, somewhere around there. Excuse me. What you want to do is you just have to think about what people want. You're going to hear me say this on probably the majority of our podcasts. Think about what people want. And one of those things is they want to stop renting, right? Another one that we used early on that you can use, whoever's watching this or listening to this later on the podcast, what you can say is, and it worked really well, was let's have a competition. Who spent the most rent in the last 5 years? Calculate your rent for the last 5 years, right? And then say that could you have bought a house by now, right? And that really opens people's minds up to how much money they're spending, right? Because a lot of people will say, do you want to stop renting? Well, what's driving me to stop renting? There's nothing that's triggering that thought in my mind of why should I stop renting, right? Renters don't know that they're spending, I mean, they know they're spending money because they have to pay rent every month, but they don't really calculate what that number looks like for 5 years. So let's say somebody's spending, I don't know, let's say $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. $12,000 a year times 5, that's $60,000 given away to somebody else, right? Of that let's say 35%, I don't know how to calculate all the equity and stuff. Let's say 35% of that was equity that they could have had, which makes their own mini bank because it's their money. 35% of that actually went over to them. So we're talking almost $20,000 of that they could have kept in their own pocket. Right? So we're talking about simple math here. You make a post like that. Who spent the most money in rent over the last 5 years? Right? Comment below and just watch the comments come in. And then from there, if you're smart, you know that those people are leads because those people are still renting. Right? But you'll have some people that say, oh man, I got smart and I bought a house. And anyway, you comment back and forth with those people and then you send them a message. And that's how you generate leads organically. So the guy who's watching on YouTube, this is one of the strategies we use. You'll stretch your dollar further, going back to the point earlier, because now your $500 to generate, 1,000 leads now turns into, let's say we're cutting that cost. So that turns into really $250 spent, right? So anyway, Jaime, to answer your question, yeah, that's definitely one of the ones that we use. And there's another one that somebody can go ahead and use now too, right?
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. And again, you're having people come, and I like how you phrased it. Not everybody's going to be the, what was it? The platinum gold standard. So that's okay. That's okay. We talked about early on the whole low hanging fruit. That's going to be around for a little bit, but it's low hanging for a reason. There's not much. So you do have to go up further into the branches to get the rest of it. But that's okay. That's your job. That's your job. There's no magic formula when it comes to door knocking is going to have its level of work. Posting on social media is going to have its level of work. Cold calling is going to have its level of work. Facebook ads is going to have its level of work, regardless if you have a messenger bot attached to it or not. At the end of the day, there's still work involved. Now, what we're doing is exposing you to different ideas so you can magnify those conversations and have more conversations with more people. Now, you didn't get into a car and drive to all of these doors to knock on. You made a post, and then people from across the state, from across the city, the country, they flocked to your post. And that's the power that we're talking about with social media. Something else that another post that you can consider doing is drop your business page down below, and I'd love to support you. And this is also one that Joseph has pioneered that works incredibly well.
Yeah.
So that's another one. That's another one that I wanted you to kind of elaborate on.
Yeah, I can definitely elaborate on that a bit. I mean, essentially what you're trying to do is typically business owners have money. So now we're talking about not just buyers, but we're talking about sellers, right? What you're trying to do is you're trying to connect with these business owners, support their business, maybe go buy at some point, but let's just talk basics right now. Let them comment, thank them for commenting, then send them a message. Hey, thanks for commenting. By the way, do you mind liking my business page? I just like yours. By the way, how's business going? Just open up the door. By the way, if you ever need any help buying or selling, here's my business card or here's my information. Can I have your information? Love to add you to my database. Business owners know that you have to have leads. And by the way, hey, can I also promote your business on my personal page? Will you also promote my business on your personal page, right? Now you're utilizing each other's networks. They're getting your network, you're getting their network, and you're growing each other's business that way. All right, scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And people don't think this way anymore because we all live in our little bubbles. But if you do these things, I guarantee your sphere of influence is going to you're going to have like 100 new friend requests in a month, right? Coming to you, not you chasing them, right? So that's one way I would look at that.
That's perfect. That's perfect. So going a step beyond, so those are the social media posts. Now there's countless of examples. If you'd like even more examples, then feel free to reach out to us. We're not gonna go through all of them right now because there are many. So actually this would be a great time to pause. Let us know in the comments section down below what strategies you're using to generate more leads. If you had to generate a lead by the end of tonight, what would you do? If you needed to drum up some activity and at least try to, get a client tonight, what are you doing? Are you calling? Are you DMing? What are you doing? Let us know in the comment section down below what you need to do to get a lead. So again, your challenge back to you, the audience. And if you're in the podcast, then feel free to let us know in the, check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, Instagram, and DM us what you would do if you're in the podcast listening to it and giving us a 5-star review, which would be fantastic.
Boom.
There you go. I like that. So let us know. But that's the social media post section. I wanted to talk about your sphere of influence for a second, Joseph, where we're talking about generating more leads. That's the topic of this podcast. And we've gone through so many different examples. It's criminal that we're not getting paid for this. So I wanted to talk about the sphere of influence, and depending on the train of thought, or depending on the school that you fall on, some people are very good about doing that absolutely swear up and down by it, have no issue, have no shame, have no issue reaching out to the sphere of influence. And then there's some that are petrified. There's some that refuse to do it. There's some, I don't want to do that. It's just, I just got into the business. I don't know if I should, there's those people that won't do it.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to talk to that because I fall more on the other side. I fall on the side of I'm gonna make my name outside of my sphere of influence. Yeah. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's what I do. But let's talk about how do we actually convert that sphere of influence into a lead? And then we can work on converting the lead forward. But the goal of this podcast was to generate more leads.
Right.
A simple thing that you can do, a very non-threatening that you can do. I'm talking for you, those people that aren't leveraging your sphere of influence to your to the maximum potential, you can DM your sphere of influence and say something very simple. Hey, I'm just updating my database. Can I get your most current email and phone number? Boom.
Yeah.
80% of your sphere of influence, whether you went to college with them, high school with them, your cousins, your second cousin, your third cousins, your grandma, whatever, at least 80% of them will respond back with a valid email and a valid phone number.
Yeah. Yeah. Take it a step further, Jaime, right? Let's because of the world of spam these days and people are afraid or hacking, people are afraid to give their information to a message like that, right? So let's take it a step further. I'll do it right now, right? So here's the statement. Updating database, can I get your current email and phone number? So I'd say, hey, it's Joseph here. Want to let you know that I'm updating my database. Is it okay if I get your email and phone number? Just drop it down below and then I'll add it to my list. And then you can delete it later if you don't want it sitting here on Facebook. Thank you so much. Look forward to contacting you. I'll probably shoot you a text message soon. Thanks. That's it. That's all you have to say. And then you can just forward that message to everybody that you know. You could even add on top of that, by the way, you can say, hey, I'm updating my information or updating my database. If you didn't know, I'm a real estate agent and I want to make sure that I have everybody's updated contact information. I'm not going to spam you or anything like that. I just want to make sure I have your information. I might shoot you a text message later just to confirm and check on you. But yeah, if you could drop your information down below, I'll shoot you a text message later and look forward to staying in contact with you. Thank you very much. Right? Super simple. That probably took, what, 15 seconds? And now you're updating your database. You can send people a text message because you told them you're going to do that. So now you're creating these action items on top of what the strategy Jaime already talked about. And so now people are expecting you to text them, right? So now you've opened up the conversation. And now whenever you text them, hey, just checking on you, how are things going? They respond back, hey, by the way, after, as the conversation goes, how are your kids, blah, blah, blah. Hey, do you know anybody thinking about buying or selling? If you do, please feel free to shoot them my way. By the way, is there any way I can help you? Super simple, right?
100%, 100%. Again, that's non-threatening. I mean, who would come back and say completely, let me rephrase that. If somebody were to come back and completely derail your day for messaging that,
you don't want to work with them anyway.
100%, 100%.
May not want to be related to them.
Exactly. And if that was your brother, you'd have some bigger issues there. Chances are that's how they act with everybody. So again, it's a non-threatening way to work your sphere. And I'm speaking more for myself here. So when I listen to the podcast later on and take some notes, this is probably me speaking to my future me. And it's non-threatening. It's a great way to engage. And it's something that you can continue doing habitually, right?
Yeah.
And if you wanted to go towards Christmas and really get your inner sphere where you actually will send them their
Christmas
card, then it'll tell a lot about where they live. I mean, chances are that you don't know where let's just say over 80% of where your friends or friends on Facebook, you don't know where they live. You have a general understanding. Oh yeah, they're in the Dallas area. You don't know they're in Fort Worth. It's not Dallas. You don't know that. I mean, I don't know that. So I'm guessing that a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
So that was that one. I wanted to again speak more towards the sphere of influence. We talked about the Facebook Marketplace strategy. So we're going to go ahead and just remind you about that. It's there. It's a fantastic strategy. We actually covered that on episode. I'm going to start lying, Joseph. It's probably it was an earlier episode. It had to have been within the first 5 episodes that we did. So I wanted to talk on something that is that's at the front of everybody's mind, and that's the virtual reality that we find ourselves in regards to the pandemic, right? Yeah. Everybody was forced to, whether you're a school, whether you're a church, whether you're a real estate agent, you had to adapt. You had to adapt to the new online economy and the virtual economy. So what I wanted to talk about was a huge opportunity that exists today. There's some states that have opened up and a little bit more open than others. There's some states that are still pretty closed. So this is really going to help you real estate agents out there. And I want to discuss virtual open houses. Mm-hmm. That's a great opportunity to maximize your time, maximize your exposure, build your brand, and gain more business because it's accepted at this point.
Yeah.
It's super accepted at this point that a virtual house, oh, okay, well, that makes sense, COVID. Okay.
It moved us about 5 years ahead of time, to be honest with you.
What's that?
I said it's moved us about 5 years ahead of time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So if you can leverage a virtual open house, I'll give you what there's so many different ways to slice the onion at this point, Joseph. But one of the ways that you can do it is get a registration up front. So let me back up. Let's just say your open house is this, let's call it this Saturday, right? So we're recording this on a Thursday, so we're probably a little bit behind if we're going to do it this Saturday, but we're going to go with the illustration.
Sure.
So what I would do is I would comment on my Facebook post. On my Facebook page, on the Facebook groups that I have. So I have several. If you don't have some, then you can borrow some and post in there. And I would invite people to the virtual open house. Now, all you have to do is post that you're going to have that virtual open house on Saturday at 1 p.m. and people are going to register for it. So you can do an Eventbrite type of a event. You can do an actual Facebook event. If you don't want to go outside of Facebook, you can do you can create an entirely new Facebook business page. Believe it or not, you can do that. And you can do, what was the other thing? A landing page. There's so many different ways to capture people's contact information. And what you're doing at that point is you're having them join part of your notification squad. If you want to rip off that word, do it. Notification squad. That if you get pushed back on, why do I have to register? Oh, I just want to make sure I remind you. I want to make sure that I send you a notification when I'm on live at 1 p.m. And in case you wanted to see a particular room that I don't cover, you can just send me a message and we'll be on. You're going to have so much more attendance to your virtual open house than the actual open house that you have. Yeah. What are the stats, Joseph? Per hour, you have 3 folks come per hour. Maybe not in this market because it's a seller's market, but you didn't have much of a traffic at open house. And if you absolutely marketed correctly, you'd be lucky if you could get 4 or 5 couples through or 5 people, 5 buyers through that open house in an hour.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example. So we're always talking about strategies to make things work, right? Let's talk about, so I'm in Singapore, right? They do things a little bit differently here as far as real estate is concerned. But as we look at real estate, one of the things that they started doing early on, I think somebody has sold over 100 plus homes here, or condos / homes here in Singapore since COVID. Wow. Right? So do those numbers, right? They might have a team. But what they did was, instead of saying, hey, I'm going to come see you, let's do a virtual call. And then what I want you to do is I want you to walk through the house with your cell phone, right? And they coach them on making sure the cell phone is horizontal, making sure that the cell phone is set to the highest quality video it can capture. And then they say, hey, by the way, since we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and run a virtual ad to promote this property. Is that okay with you? Right? So you don't even have to go to the house. You have the owner record the video, right? So they've done this and they've had, again, over 100 plus homes sold by doing that. So let's say, for example, you have FSBOs, you're cold calling FSBOs, and you're like, hey, do you want help selling your house? No, I don't want to list your house for you, but I want to help you market your property. Is that something that you would be interested in? I like to spend some dollars behind it. I know that you'll pay for a buyer, but I need some help from you. And what I need help, I want to help you, but I need help from you. Can you walk around your house, turn on all the lights, open all the windows, and just record a video on your mobile device walking through the house? And then if you do that, then what I'll do is then I'll be able to market that property for you. I can't put it on the MLS and do all those things unless we have a signed contract. But I can say, hey, here's somebody that's trying to sell their house. I don't have a contract with them, but the house looks great. If you're interested, contact me. Right? So now you're talking about FSBOs and trying to convert those into your possible sellers that you're going to work with. You're doing something up front to help them. And then on the back end, if they can't get it sold, you're like, hey, by the way, By putting on MLS, I can put it in front of 30,000 people tomorrow, right? So you've built a relationship. They've done something for you. You've done something for them. Scratch, right? Each other's back. And now in the future, whenever they're ready to sell, the likelihood of them working with you is much higher than the agent who's just calling them and saying, I have a buyer, which they never had. Right.
Are you trying to tell me, Joseph, that they don't have a buyer? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Hey, I'm calling to come by and preview your house. I have a possible buyer, but I need to come see it. Why would you come by and see it without them? Anyway.
Oh, because my girlfriend in Canada, she's in Canada. So that is fantastic. And I mean, that conversation looks completely different. Like, I know we're kind of making fun of the strategies that are being taught out there. Yeah. I mean, that's by design. But when it comes to the conversation that you have with a FSBO, it's way different. Different than the FSBO just went online. People are going on Zillow, finding that number, calling, and going through the script that you just recited and trying to get to the house.
Yeah.
You went completely different. You offered something. We talk about value all of the time. You and I both subscribe to the Gary V strategies, right? So you have the providing value up front, and will it work out 100% of the time? No, it will not. But it will work a lot more and more frequently than if you go down the cold, the original strategy that you just went through that is being taught out there. So you're developing a relationship, and you know what? If you advertise that property or market that property and they reach out to the homeowner directly and they buy the house, oh, well, you weren't going to get that listing anyway, or Correct. You weren't going to get that client anyway. But you at least open yourself to the opportunity of representing the buyer, because more often than not, I'm not the listing agent, but the owner will give you a commission if you bring them a buyer.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that right now. I mean, I just did that right now with a property that I just leased, my own property. Of course, I can represent both sides if I want. I don't, but I put on the MLS. I offer a hefty commission for agents. Bring me a renter. I need top dollar for this property because it's brand new. So bring me a renter, and I have no issue paying for it.
Yeah.
So that's very much the same mindset of the homeowners. I need to sell my house. If you can bring me a buyer and you give me a good offer, I have no issue paying you commission.
It's easy. Yeah, it's pretty easy. So, yeah, I meant to comment on this. I know we're getting close to the end here, Jaime, but I meant to comment on this earlier where you said one of the agents that you're working with is utilizing leases to pay for other things.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was fantastic, right? Like you can work with a leasing agent, right? Somebody who likes doing leases, because there's some of those out there, and say, hey, look, I'll go out and I'll market to bring possible leasees in, if you will give me a % cut, right? Maybe you don't like working leases, or maybe you need to do it because you need to make money. But now you can use that money to do other things, which I thought was a fantastic idea. I just want to make sure I comment on that because I forgot to comment on it earlier.
No, thank you. So yeah, that's an absolute, that's a strategy, right? And beyond a strategy, that go and do it. If you want to get some quick cash, if you want to really work at scale, that's a huge opportunity. And when we were covering that strategy yesterday, I showed her my Facebook Marketplace, where again, I put my personal property up for rent. I'm requesting high dollar because it's a brand new house. And I almost felt embarrassed showing her that there's 50 people that commented on that. Now, of course, 50, going back to your point, they're not all platinums or golds or in a position to do the lease, but 50 people that I didn't have to get on the phone with. That's 50 people that commented. All I did was post my response on Evernote. I copied and pasted my response, and somebody else that was interested enough, they would reach back out and I would have a conversation with them. I almost felt embarrassed or a little bit of shame that I don't work any of these leads because I guess I'm a snob. I just don't work. I just had my need, and I know how to generate leads, but when it can't come to that, I'm not working those. I could, but I'm just not.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's not that you're a snob about lead generation or working them, I guess is what you're talking about. But it's you've found ways to utilize your time in a different way because you've grown as a business owner, right? So anybody who's watching this, you're going to grow as a business owner. There's certain things you won't be doing where you have other people do. That's just part of business, right?
100%, 100%. Joseph, as we get ready for the dismount, I want to remind everybody that we're on every single podcast platform that you can think of. Even if it hasn't been invented, we're on it. Just guaranteed.
It's there already.
And as far as the rating system, as far as I'm aware, Apple is the only one that has that. So if you're on Apple and listening on your Apple podcast, we do ask that you rate us a 5-star. If we didn't earn your 5-star, then we don't want it. Let us try again next week, right? What was that?
I said, yeah, please don't rate us if we didn't earn your 5-star.
If we didn't earn your 5-star, if we didn't make you at least $20,000 by you investing 60 minutes of your time, and if you 2x it was 30 minutes of your time. If we didn't make that much money, then you weren't listening. Yeah, that's a great way to get the 5 stars, right? Joseph, patronize our listeners, belittle them. Hey, no. So we really do appreciate you listening and tuning in. For those of you that tuned in live and hung in there with us, we have we have quite a few people over here on YouTube still hanging in there. So I don't have access to Facebook right now, but thank you so much for listening. As far as my parting thoughts, and then I'll kick it over to you, Joseph. Social media is here. You've heard it plenty of times, and it's not going anywhere. You can be intimidated by it. You can use the cop-out excuse of, I don't have time. I don't know how to use it. I don't know where to start. You can use those excuses if you want. At the end of the day, they're not going to pay your mortgage. They're not going to pay your car payment. They're not going to help you achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Start with one strategy that we talked about. You don't have to go outside of this podcast. Just, again, I'm very, very confident that we shared a strategy here that you can develop and keep you plenty busy for the next year. So just start with one of these strategies, whatever it is, whether it's that virtual open house, the Facebook marketplace, the post that Joseph was mentioning. Start with one and see it through. See it through this month, see it through next month, the third month, fourth month. See it through in your business and work the leads that you generated. So jumping it over or throwing it over to you, Joseph, for the
as far as closing words are concerned, as Hyman said, just utilize the strategies, right? Go if you miss some of them, go back, rewatch this, re-listen to it, write them down, implement them. It's super easy. I think most of the things that we talk about are actionable things. So take action. And then again, just see them through 30, 60, 90 days. I would say at least 90 days, test these things, get leads, and get a buyer, maybe get a seller from it. And then if you want to pay us later, you can. That's all.
I love it. No, that's the mic drop right there. I need to find a mic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This is episode 13 of the Agent Lead Source podcast, how to get more leads the fast way. And I should change that title to the fast ways because we provided so many different avenues. Please rate us on Apple Podcasts, 5-star. That would be fantastic. If you have any questions, our information will be in the show notes down below. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next week.